so what were some of these armaments during the Crusades? So we've now looked at, I said a brief overview of the Crusades, that was pretty brief. Both of these clips are from that History Channel Nightfall. And you see he's carrying, that particular sword is called a hand and a half sword. So they got a little bit longer and the handles got a little bit longer. Eventually they got even longer and the handles got so long you could hold them with two hands.
Should he really be putting it on his shoulder?
Is it right there?
Well, he's just standing there.
Next to your broadsword, isn't it that one right there?
It's actually like this one.
Yeah.
This is called an army sword or a knightly sword. These will come a little bit later, and we'll do the history of that momentarily. So let's get in the mood here. Maybe.
Movie?
Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, they always make war so glorious, don't they?
The guy looks like he's showing off.
Well, he's the leader. Yeah, he's got his sword out. But if you look closely, here's a Hospitaller. Over here is your Templar. Let's see, do we see any? I don't see any. No Teutonics in this one. Depends what crusade. Yes?
Are there flowers in the wars on them?
Flowers?
Yeah, on the side right there.
Oh, here? Oh, that's kind of weeds. When you go to the Holy Land, it's pretty desolate, but stuff does grow. You know, but a lot of dirt. Pastor Marianne and I have been there. And the wilderness isn't desert. It is desert, but it's not sandy desert like the Sahara Desert. It's just dirt and rock desert. But stuff like that does grow. But of course, as soon as this army walks over it, that's the end of that grass and flowers. Now this whole video clip is a graphic. I don't know if you've noticed it. It wasn't real. It's a total graphic. CGI. Right? All right, so as a Christian, we look at everything I'm wearing is the armor of God. Comes out of Ephesians. At the end, I have little, for all the scouts, I hope I have enough, they're little lapel pins that have kind of this soldier on the front with the different aspects of everything that's in color here. It says, stand, having the utility belt of truth. You put on the breastplate of righteousness, fit your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace, taking up the shield of faith, so we can quench all the fiery darts of the evil one. Take up the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Now, of course, their sword was not so much the Word of God. But remember, the Bible does tell us that the state gives us commands to wield the sword. And at that time, the state told them to go wield the sword. But I believe that in the long run, using the Word of God is a far more powerful weapon and relationship building. Okay. I don't know how. There we go. Let's look at some of these. Well, medieval helms, they were originally called. And it was, of course, it's a French word, and it's Heulmes. But we modernized it to just helm. And then, of course, we anglicized it into helmets. There's this one. And well, we're going to look at these in a little more detail. I just want to show you, these are pretty much your medieval helmets. This is a kettle helmet. Figure out why it's called a kettle helmet?
Yes.
Why?
It looks exactly like a kettle.
Yeah, you could probably flip it over and cook your dinner in it if you're out on a military campaign someplace. So, here are some different ones. I've got some over here. The top one's called a nasal. You know why it's called a nasal? Because it covers your nasal cavity. Makes sense, right? Okay. Oh, wait, he's had his shot. Doesn't have to wear the mask. All right. The second one, barbute. It's an Italian word. It means beard. What do you think they call it that? Well, because what can you see if you're wearing? Your beard, right? So it's your beard. The great helm, which I came in wearing. So called because it just covers everything. And eventually, somebody says, well, what if you get hit on the head? Well, how are you going to get hit on the head? You know? Anyway, but maybe you get knocked down, you get hit on the head. But if you get hit on the head, you're wearing a helmet, it's not going to cut your head open. But if you're wearing that helmet, somebody smacks you on top of the head with a heavy sword, you're going to feel it, okay? And so, why don't we just put a dome on it and the sword will just slide right off. So eventually they domed it and they called it the sugar loaf. There's your kettle. Bassinet has a removable faceplate. This one also is a bassinet. It's called a pig face. I don't know why. Anyway, so this one has, somebody said, hey, this makes sense. See what I'm doing? I got news for you. When that's on my head, if you're not right in front of me, I can't see you. If I want to look down, I can see there's holes in the bottom. Like here, there's a big cross. You have to kind of like look down, and those holes are called breaths, because you breathe. So the breaths, and you look down that way, or you put your head down. But the thing of it is, if I'm on my steed with my lance, I see you, and that's where I'm going. But if I'm off of my horse and I'm fighting you, you can actually drop down, roll to the side, and if I turn this way and then you trick me and you roll the other way, I don't see you. It's a real neat trick. So anyway, you always lift this, you just lift it up. Or if you're just tired of wearing the big one all day, you know. So they did have move, and you think, yes, you know, it just makes sense. Why didn't they do that? It took them like 200 years to come up with this. Technology isn't always the... Well, eventually, now, after the Crusades, after the Middle Ages, we get into the Renaissance. And that's where the suits of armor, like this. This is not Crusades. This is after the Crusades. But something that became popular were whole suits of armor. And if you're not out fighting a war in a suit of armor, what do you do if you're a knight to make a living? Well, you get into jousting. They made money. Whoop.
What type of helmet is that?
Okay, I don't know what happened. Anyway, that is specifically and only for jousting. If you have that on, you're only going to see somebody riding toward you with their lance. You see nothing now. I mean, you have. If you think your vision in these is bad, that's even worse. I mean, literally, I could go like this, and you wouldn't know if I went left or right. Because you see how it sticks out. It's really hard to even look down. So by the time you finally got your head down, I could have gone around to the right, I could have gone around to the left. Anyway, specifically for jousting. All right, now, I throw this slide in there for the following reason, because I have these. It doesn't have anything to do with the Crusades. It's Renaissance, so it's after the Crusades. This helmet, a Morion, worn also by the conquistadors. Kind of neat helmet. Kind of cool. I'll put it on. But it's also worn by the Swiss Guard who protect the Vatican and the Pope. To this day. And that's a current picture. I have ordered and did not receive a flamberge. That sword is a flamberge.
Because it looks like a flame at the
Because
end.
it looks like a flame, yeah. Flambe. It's French, right? Yeah. And it's really kind of an interesting weapon. It only lasted about 70, 80 years. Very good for cutting. It's like a sawtooth knife, right? But it also, if somebody tried to hit you with their sword, it would get jagged, you'd get caught, hung up in there. And of course, I have over here, they're not metal, they're Halloween. I sometimes buy knickknacks. I have a Spartan helmet and a Roman helmet. Okay, Mike's chainmail. Okay. Some of you adults, you have to mail out at least 7 to other people. Chainmail? Okay.
No. Oh.
That's just for the adults. I know you. They don't do that anymore, I guess. But anyway. So, as chainmail became more and more popular, I don't need a shield. Right? No, I'm wearing a shield.
It's not going to protect you that good.
That hurts. Ah! But you didn't cut me.
It's not the sharp part.
Well, I'm not going to damage my blade. Anyway, as armor came out, and particularly as more and more chainmail came out, that freed me from having to carry a shield. So now I can use 2 hands. I can carry 2 swords. I can carry a bigger sword that's so big that it really takes 2 hands to hold it. And I push with one, I pull with the other. But of course now I need a bigger sword because my opponent is now wearing chainmail. So if I can't really cut you with a smaller sword, I can at least beat you to death with mine. Now, but then, remember, swords cut and they thrust. That's the primary function. And somebody also said, well, you know what? Let's make these big, long swords, but instead of making them broadswords for stronger cutting, let's make them real pointy to get in between the chainmail. So we'll make them narrower and pointier. And they did. And those are also long swords. So as weaponry changed because of armor changing, right? Now, when we get into full suits of armor, now you got a problem. Because I can hit you with that all day long. I can't cut into you. I can rattle your brain pretty good if I can hit you in the head. Or if I hit you in the shoulders, I might break your shoulder, but I can't cut your shoulder. Excuse me. So, at that time, they made the swords even narrower. And they became called rapiers. And the point of a rapier was, oh look, where's my finger? Can you see that, everybody? There's a hole there. So if I'm fighting you, I'm going to get my sword in one of these holes. You don't think that was... So anyway, swords changed because armor changed. Now, underneath your clothes, you can wear a halberd. So that's like a full-length chainmail. I have on the t-shirt version, the habergeon. I have gauntlets, but you could also get them in chainmail. You still can. The coif, or how's your French? This is a coif. No, I'm not using baguette.
I speak fluent French.
Oh, okay. I pronounce this shows. How do you want to pronounce this? Okay. Chassés. People, they're leggings. You know, people stuff about chassing down the lane. That's where they got that word. Anyway, and you see, so I am wearing leggings. Yes?
Did anyone ever learn to, aim
Oh yeah, yeah, they had to change the armor, and we'll see that coming up. You know, as soon as you come up with a different kind of armor, I come up with a different kind of sword. Well, then I'll come up with a different kind of armor. It never stops. So you could just get an Aventail. Mine's a cloth and an Aventail combination. You get the whole thing. As they got into some of the suits of armor, and people were poking them under the arms, they said, well, I'll just wear an undervest that has chainmail under the arms. So if you poke me under the arms, you're going to hit chainmail. But I don't want to wear all this chainmail because I'm already wearing a suit of armor. So I don't want all chainmail under a suit of armor. I'll just wear a little bit of chainmail under a suit of armor. My chainmail weighs 30 pounds. Suit of armor weighs 50. So it's only 20 more pounds. Yeah, but remember, modern day military, you go to boot camp, they give you a 50-pound pack.
Yes.
You know? And so you're training with a 50-pound pack. What's the difference? Because the pack's in one spot. Wouldn't you rather have it distributed over your whole body?
Okay, that's
What's that?
Exactly. I was going to say, backpacks in like one general location, whereas throughout your whole body, you got a lot of weight.
Yeah. So don't think these guys couldn't move around. Yeah, they can't move around as fast as without it, but they could still roll and jump a little bit. You know, I mean, whatever you could do with a 50-pound pack on your back. Anyway, you would wear a padded vest, and that's called a gabardine. There's your arming cap. If you wore bracers, because my gauntlets come up so far, I don't really need bracers, but they would also help you if you were an archer. And again, starting in the early 1400s, so now we're into the Renaissance, we're out of the medieval period. Because remember, the Crusades ended in 1271. That's a full suit of armor. And what's really funny, they rarely ever show you the back. Because they're totally open in the back.
Huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you want to stick somebody in the butt, it's just somehow get around behind them. But why did you have armor in your butt? Because if you ever got stabbed in the butt, which way were you facing your enemy? Right? You weren't facing your enemy. That's why you got hit in the butt. So
Well, if you can't see where they are because of the helmet, then how are you supposed to know they're behind you?
yeah, well, see, this is the problem when you're in what's called a melee. You know, where a whole bunch of people were on foot, all fighting each other, and you're wearing something like that. Somebody could stick you in the butt. They didn't care. I mean, what's the object of being in war? To be polite? No, it's not.
They go more like
Kill your
They
enemy.
said, oh, it's dishonorable to stab somebody. Hey,
Kill your enemy.
it wasn't a matter of honor or dishonor. It was win or lose.
return your honor to the Holy Land.
Yeah. Well, but again, you know, there's a lot of bad things about warfare. You know, this is, you know, this presentation isn't to glorify warfare. It's just to give you a history lesson.
Yeah, let's start together.
See these little things here? They're called rondelles. Now somebody can't stick you with their skinny, pointy sword under your arm
Yay.
because you've got rondelles. So anyway, so they went. Now he doesn't have a full breastplate on. He just has his gambeson. Breastplates are also called cuirass. Covers your torso. Here's a steel one, like I have up here. This is the Roman one. The Romans, eventually they would have some that were metal. So originally it was leather. And believe it or not, this is to protect your private area. There's strips so that you have freedom to move because you're fighting. And Roman soldiers, they didn't have really long swords. They had very short swords, up to 24 to 30 inches. They were meant to be one-to-one up face, close, with a shield. So they needed mobility. Okay.